This is a Culture Inject production.
Welcome back, listeners, to Part of Us, an Vogue Fancast. Just as a reminder before we dig into today's episode that you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Vogue Craze and on Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. You can stream Part of Us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else that you might be streaming your podcasts. If you have ideas, interview requests, comments, or questions, email them to us at partofusevf@gmail.com. And if you like what you hear, which I hope that you do, please rate and review our podcast. This week's episode, we are talking world domination. What happened? But before we get into that, we are going to go into some news and trending topics.
All right. First of all, we have to kind of issue a correction. Maxine was never married. I know on the last episode we talked about we thought that she had gotten married at some point during her hiatus or what have you, but Max and her people, they are listening and they have confirmed that Maxine was never married. So we do apologize about that. Also, shout out to listener Kurt Damatis and everyone who shared our podcast around the net. If you left us a rating on Apple Podcasts or retweeted us, we thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Cindy and Terry were actually spotted in the studio recently, you guys. So what do you think they're recording, or what do you hope they're recording at this point?
I hope they're recording some new material. I hope that I think it was both of you a couple episodes ago when you said, like, we want them to just kind of release music here and there, not like focus on like a whole album, but just like an EP, a single, just for fun. So I hope that they're in the studio, like just cooking up some fun things, trying new sounds, you know, keep the rhythm going. That's what I'm hoping.
Same. I hope they're like doing a little tiny little EP, a little something slight, but I really feel like they're probably doing something for the tour. Right. I feel like they're probably doing some kind of interesting like intro transitional vocal thing. Yeah. Which is also cute. And I think after the last episode when Matan was like, I had no idea how the mixtape tour sort of functioned. And so I actually might go. I don't know. Like, well, COVID is a whole thing. But like, I don't know. The idea of them switching it up and doing not just a concentrated set, which could just look like what they already do. The idea that the format of the mixtape tour is different, I think could be kind of cool. And maybe this is part of that.
Well, let me know if you decide to go because, want to...
Tip to DC!
I may, because, they're not coming to Virginia, so... Or if they want to give us some VIP tickets, a press pass, because we...
Okay. We love you.
We would be happy to show up and give our thoughts and give a wonderful review. Just putting it out there.
A glowing review.
Maybe a little interview, before the show. Just putting it out there.
Yes, let's manifest.
I do also want to shout out Matan. He's not here today.
Yes,
our other co-host.
We miss you, Matan.
So we hope he's well. Happy New Year to our friend. Hope to be back the next episode. That being said, even though it's January while we're recording this, it was the most wonderful time of the year. And an Vogue Christmas did air on the OWN network, and it is also streaming on BET+. I don't know if for those of you who don't know, Vogue does have a Lifetime Christmas movie starring Maxine, Terry, and starring Terry, Cindy, and Rona. Sorry, that was my daydream happening. But yeah, so what is your favorite Evie Christmas memory?
Oh, for me, I have to say this. I think I shared it already, but I'll share it again. One Christmas, I wanted the En Vogue cassette. That's how long ago it was. And my mom bought me the Remix to Sing cassette for Christmas, but it had that, and I was like, what is this? Not what I wanted. But it had it had the Silent Night Christmas song on it, and to this day, it's one of my favorite Christmas songs. I listen to it every year. I listen to it when it's not Christmas because Maxine killed that. But that's my kind of favorite In Vogue Christmas memory.
What about you, Josh?
I don't really have like an In Vogue Christmas memory. I just justice for the Christmas album is all I'm gonna say, because I know people don't like it, but I like it. And I am someone.
Which one?
The gift of Christmas.
Okay.
The one that was, what was it, 02? I think it was.
Yep.
I can't remember what year it was.
With Amanda.
Yes. And that cover is everything. Like
it's
Amanda.
It was
a good
giving
cover.
sex appeal for Christmas.
It's a good cover. It's a good cover.
And that's why I stand by. For me, Amanda she just had that thing that fit into In Vogue. I won't go into it. It's a new chapter.
She was leaning
She
and
was
posing.
leaning.
Yes.
That split, like that hair, like shout out to Amanda Cole.
I'm already somebody who loves Christmas music in general, so like the Christmas season was just amazing for me. Like it's always amazing for me, and I love that they did this album. I understand why people don't like it, but I love it, and so it is regularly spun in this household.
I mean, Snowy Nights. We just came through a snowstorm over here on the East Coast. So Snowy Nights. Wait, first, Josh. For those who don't follow Josh, you got to follow him. He's always giving a playlist or some type of recommendation. Seasonal somethings. And you know, we are both on the East Coast, and it snowed this past Monday. We had a nice winter storm, and Josh provided a lovely seasonal playlist for your.
It was
kind of
sad. It was a little sad, but
you gotta put Snowy Nights. You have to put Snowy Nights on it.
I gotta put Snowy Nights on there. That's what I'm gonna go add that.
And I love that song. That is a nice song.
But I will say that around the time that Gift of Christmas did come out, they had a special that aired on TV, and it came on around Thanksgiving. And I was watching it with my auntie Shirley, who was kind of like the matriarch of the family. She lives in San Francisco. And so she had it on. And it was like the first time that I kind of like gabbed with my auntie. You know, usually it's kind of like, hi, auntie, nice to see you. But she was like, them girls is bad. That girl can sing. Look at that dress. And I was like, yes, auntie, they are bomb. You know, it was the first time like I got to like gab with her over In Vogue. So that was kind of really cool. But I remember that. I don't know if that special is still around on the internet or whatever. But I do remember it vaguely. Yeah.
We be thinking YouTube has everything, but YouTube does not have everything. There's so much that YouTube doesn't have.
Well, my favorite memory about the movie was Dawn Robinson saying she's going to call her attorneys.
On TMZ, honey. On TMZ.
She said, if it's not right, I'm calling my attorneys. That's all I have to say. So that's a favorite memory of mine as well, because she was not having it. Okay.
So why so angry about this?
Well, I'm not angry about not being in it. I didn't even know anything about it, and really, it's kind of embarrassing. I'm not upset about that part as much as I'm just disappointed that my two former band members have associated the En Vogue name with a movie like this. And also, there's a false, misleading perception that has created a market to promote, advertise, and generate revenue. And I'm not getting a part of that revenue. If my name is associated with it, or not even my name, but the perception of En Vogue being back together, and I'm part of that being together and reuniting, then we should all be Maxine as well, be included in that. If the girls got money to do this project,
you want a piece of the pie. But here's the thing, though, and help me out here. My understanding is, I thought you gave up your rights to the group when you left in '97.
No, I gave the rights to the name. That's totally different than the image that I created. You know what I mean? We created a classy image. We created a beautiful, wholesome image, and now it's being kind of destroyed by that. So again, if they're going to use the perception to the fans, that's my biggest part too, is that the fans are thinking. All four of us have I'll give you an analogy. You're a fan of En Vogue. You're walking down the street. You see a poster that says En Vogue reunites or En Vogue reunion, and the four divas, funky divas, come together and put their differences aside. They come together amicably to make this work. You're thinking, what would your perception be of that? As a fan of En Vogue, you're walking by, you see this poster.
I'd be like, let's go see it.
But do you think that all four members are included, or?
Yeah, and I want to see him in those dresses from giving him something he can feel.
Exactly, but you think that Cindy, Maxine, Terry, and there's only one En Vogue. That's Cindy, Maxine, Terry, and Dawn.
So Don, we're running out of time, but real quick.
Yeah.
When push comes to shove, if they end up doing the movie and airing the movie, are you going to just sit back and grouse, or are you going to sue them?
Well, I hope it doesn't come to that. I mean, it's everybody's too happy these days. It's not that at all. It's like, just consider the people that have built this legacy with the other two girls.
But they have considered it, and clearly they've rejected it. So I guess the question is...
they didn't consider anything because they didn't reach out to me. I didn't hear anything about it until the fans came.
But that's a clue, if they didn't reach out, that they're basically not going to include you. And I
don't want to be included in the movie. Include me in the money. That's all I care about. That's all I care about. That's all I care about.
But this was a fictional movie. It turns out that the movie was not a real movie about En Vogue's real life. It was just kind of like a fictional scenario about the thing. So no lawyers were called during the premiere.
I was confused by that because I was like, you don't own the rights to anything En Vogue anyway, so how do you have
But she just said they're not going to tell her story, okay?
Oh my
Right. And it's like, yeah, girl, we're not telling a story. We're telling
a
made-up story.
If there's going to be a, what's it called, a biopic,
right.
She needs to get a check and she needs to have her voice heard. Okay.
I am not mad at that. If there was a biopic and I wasn't involved, I would be mad too.
Because I think the previews did make it seem like this was like the real story of why En Vogue broke up a little bit. Because, in the previews, it was like, the group, I don't know. It kind of, I guess I could kind of see how if you didn't watch the movie and you're thinking they're telling the story of En Vogue, I guess I can see how you would feel, concerned.
But I thought it was cute for what it was. I did enjoy watching the daughter of that club owner kind of like go around and try to convince all the ladies to come back for a reunion. Like, ooh, what happened? Like, why did you guys break up? Like, that was kind of cool to see.
It was nice to see Rona acting because I know her as an actress. I remember her from Home Boys and Outer Space and Jamie Foxx show. And so it was really nice to see her acting. And Cindy too, because she started off in, the movie Juice, and she's had a lot of other, acting, on stage and television experience. So it's nice to see the ladies use all of their gifts.
That being said, I think I wish that they were a little less ahead of the curve, because I feel like Lifetime movies and Hallmark movies are now really trendy.
Right.
Everybody's kind of in on the
Kelly Rowland has released 3 in the last 3 years. Apparently they are very lucrative.
Right? Yeah, and so it just makes me wish that they had done this a little later, because I think they could have really banked and capitalized on that. Because I feel like when En Vogue Christmas came out, I feel like it was, they were still seen as low tier, whatever, that's when you go to Lifetime holiday movies or Christmas movies for whatever. But now you got Reba McEntire and all these people doing Christmas movies,
right? And VH1 had a whole, wasn't it a week every day they had a Nick Cannon and Little Kim and Tiana Taylor and all of these kind of trendy people are doing the Christmas movie thing. And so they, as always, En Vogue is ahead of the curve, but shout out to them for having foresight, because that movie can still play every Christmas.
Okay, right in the mix with the rest of them.
So moving on, the question becomes, is Generation Z ready to roll? En Vogue was name dropped on the prom episode of All American, a CW teen drama set in present-day Los Angeles, and TikTok ranked What a Man number 5 on its 2021 year-end list of top classic tracks in the United States. BTS, eat your heart out, baby. So that is something that I didn't know either, but I guess my 2 cents on the TikTok would be well, that's actually a Salt and Pepper song. So, I mean, does that really count? But,
So...
Well, they were there. I mean, honestly, I don't think What a Man would have popped this hard without En Vogue, because that, What a Man came out.
It's the hook.
Yeah, but also like that was a moment when that video dropped and En Vogue was in there looking how they was looking, and I mean even Salt and Pepper admitted that when En Vogue came to do the video, like they upped the stakes, because I think I heard Salt, I don't know, one of them was talking about how, you know, when En Vogue came on, they had, you know, a certain budget for that makeup, that hair, that wardrobe, and how, you know, that Salt and Pepper, they were like, we were not used to that. You know, they had to have Kevin Aquan, you know, whip up that makeup and all those people from back in the day. So, I mean, you know, you got to give En Vogue their props for that contribution. Because I don't think it would have been the same without them. And Maxine giving her growls.
That being said, I just like really got into TikTok, or I'm like in the process. I was very delayed. TikTok and like the young folks have like the like attention span of like a gnat, like, and it's just like they are pumping through the nostalgia, and so like I love that like What a Man's getting some love, but I'm actually really ready for like some of the more like En Vogue alone tracks to sort of have their TikTok dance moment or their nostalgic moment or whatever. So I'm curious which one it'll be. I have a feeling it'll probably be Free Your Mind or something, but like the younger generation acts like they it's like, oh my god, this is the best song ever. It's like, yes, it was number one for like 5 million years. Like,
right. I was thinking of that too, because also, you know how like, I know last week, the last podcast, we were talking about like SWV and Escape and how they kind of have like a certain songs that just like really ring, you know, loudly in like the Black community. And I was thinking like, what is that En Vogue song? And for me, I'm thinking Hold On, or Giving Him Something He Can Feel. One of those types of records is like, it's going to be like that kind of defining moment, because it's crazy to me that like a song like Can We Talk is so huge right now, over 20 years later, by Tevin Campbell. And, you know, they had a Can We Talk challenge, and like, it's one of those songs that has just randomly, all these years later, has taken on a new life.
I think it's like Hold On, to me, like the beat drop is just so nasty, like, and the whole crowd just like, I think even now, like looking at shows, like the like footage from shows, like when the beat drops, it's just like the crowd just like kind of gets into it. And then also like they did a show recently in Houston, and there was a clip on their Instagram of them doing Don't Let Go, and the crowd was insane. The crowd was like, I'd never heard, and I don't know what kind of event it was, but the crowd was just like singing so loud you could barely hear them. And I was like, okay, there's people are putting respect where respect is needed. So I don't know. I'm curious like what time will tell for those things too.
But do you think like if like Don't Let Go is their biggest song to date, but it's kind of like, if it's not the same voice that you know on the song, I mean, is it gonna have, I mean, I'm just saying, is it gonna give you the same feeling? I don't know.
I mean,
but perhaps they should do what Matan suggested, and like do like a live album where it's like you can release versions of these popular songs, but with the lineup that is currently touring, and they can kind of get accustomed to these voices. Because I think a live album would be great. Like listen to these songs like with a full band, mixed and master well, that would be hot. So and a lot of their music, I feel like when it comes to Hold On, Giving Him Something He Can Feel, My Lovin', Don't Let Go, all those songs, moments that are like, you just have to like the Never Gonna Get It, whoa, 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 whoa. Everyone knows that
that's
part.
A TikTokable moment. I think that's a good one.
Even when they, I feel like there's like a TikTok challenge going around with a Michael Jackson song where they're pranking the girlfriends are pranking the boyfriends. I feel like somebody can create like a TikTok challenge or like a TikTok video that uses that sound for something. Somebody's got to do it. But you know, I feel like there are moments in their music that can kind of like become relevant in like today's trend.
So are we gonna start a TikTok, a part of us TikTok?
Okay, what we gonna do? Woo, 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 woo. Or even like, do you remember that Sister episode where Tia, Tamara, and Lisa, they got makeovers?
Yes.
And Tia got her hair perms. Lisa got like an updo, and they was like, "Ooh, we look like In Vogue," and they started singing the song. That's one of my favorite parts of that episode. But I'm like, yes, In Vogue, y'all better be pop culture icons.
Yes. Well, friends, I think it's time for us to get into our discussion for this episode, which is a good one. So, In Vogue has had great success, obviously, but why hasn't their success reached the heights of groups like the Spice Girls, Destiny's Child, or TLC? They've had everything needed and more to reach such heights. They had the voices collectively and individually, the looks, the songs, and each member is a lead singer. They were fashionable. They've had exciting live performances and crossover appeal. So the big question is, why didn't In Vogue achieve the levels of success as many other groups have? 10 times platinum, movies, Grammys, all of the works. Why did they not get those things?
I think it's a lot. Like when you talk about Grammys and awards and stuff like that, you know, I think a lot of that stuff is very political. I think In Vogue was on a label, and their producers were, to my knowledge, weren't as, I'll say, as maybe well known or as well respected as some others. Like if you think about TLC, they had L.A. Reid and Babyface, who they're on like, you know, the Grammy board. You know, they were connected with, you know, the Face Records was connected to Arista, which was Clive Davis, who was huge, and, you know, with the whole Grammy world and all of those things. So I think a lot of that stuff, the kind of political things, definitely play a part in as far as why they don't have the Grammys, because they've definitely been nominated, and they should have won. But I think that plays a lot into like the, you know, who you're voting for, the Grammys and all of that stuff. But the rest of it is that I think at their peak, they broke up. I mean, Dawn left the group after their biggest record. You know, like that was a huge record. Don't Let Go was a huge moment from a big movie, and they were having inner turmoil. So I think anytime the group dynamics are not right, it doesn't really allow you to move to that next level, even though, you know, they continued as, you know, the original three for a while. It's still, you know, I think there was still a lot of turmoil, and I think they were just really prevented them from kind of getting to that next level, because they were like right there with Don't Let Go.
I mentioned it before, like how a lot of girl groups, they never are able to get to the third album without some drama happening. But I do think that the breakup definitely is like one of the more major deciding factors of why they're, you know, because in this day and age, like recently, there are a lot of girl groups who go through breakups and they still manage to find success. Destiny's Child, Danity Kane, Fifth Harmony, 2NE1, they still manage to stay relevant.
But I think a lot of that has to do with scandal, though. Like, you know, when Destiny's Child broke up, it was a scandal. It was only 2 left, and they were holding auditions, and then another one left. It was very scandalous.
Oh yeah, we live in the age of like scandals and paparazzi, and like we live in the age. So I feel like because In Vogue came out around the time where that was not popular or wasn't a thing yet,
or they were just scared to do it though. Because I mean, people have always loved scandal.
Yeah, but no one knew how. It was like, oh, how do we recover from this? You know, especially when the crossover happened. Dawn was like the face of the group. She was the lead singer of their most popular single. Then it's like, oh, where is Dawn? You know what I mean? She was kind of like the front runner at that time when Don't Let Go came out. So that was part of it. I also do feel like back in the day when it comes to like Black groups crossing over to the mainstream, specifically like Black women, I felt like a lot of record companies felt like the way to cross over a Black artist is to water them down. You know what I mean? And it's like, Well, you do realize that the reason why they're popular is because of the soul, because of the voice, because of the harmonies. Like, that's what got them popular. So it's like, I feel like, what's the point in like watering their sound down, watering what makes them pop down in order to appeal to the mainstream when those people in mainstream are already engulfed in that. You know what I mean? And I feel like when you listen to EV3, I do love Whatever. I love Too Gone Too Long. Let It Flow was kind of a bop to me, kind of like a personal bop to me or whatever. But I do feel like it's a lot of songs on there that, in my personal opinion, I felt like it did it. They weren't needed. And I feel like, is this what you think In Vogue needs to do to cross over to mainstream? Like, when you think about like how they came out with Hold On, like the harmonies, the opening where Terry is giving you a power lead. I'm like, so you thought that this song was great? You know what I mean? And that's what, and I'm like, because those songs come right after each other. It's also, I'm like, to go from Don't Let Go to Right Direction, I'm like, that is a very interesting turn of events. You know what I mean? And I am not saying that artists should not experiment with new sounds. They shouldn't try anything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I felt like some stuff should have been like, I see where you're going with this, but let's put that to the side. You know what I mean? So I do think that, and then it's like when you alienate your core fan base.
But you got to remember, though, I mean, the biggest album had a random rock and roll song, Free Your Mind. So I mean, I can.
But that worked, though. It worked.
Yeah, but Right Direction was one of those songs for me where I thought it was random, but I wasn't mad. I wasn't as mad as that song.
Right. I mean, and I feel like a lot of these songs on EV3, they were similar to probably the sounds that were happening.
No, they weren't.
What? Well, some of them, like when you think of like white, like artists, like alternative, the rock, that was kind of stop. I'm trying to be gracious here, but I mean, maybe that is like these producers, their attempt in trying to do their take on a mainstream sound, but perhaps it's like, well, perhaps you should stick to what you know. You know, I'm not trying to hate.
No, I think,
but every producer doesn't get it right all the time. You know what I mean? They don't get it right all the time. And I'm gonna shut up. I also feel like the focus was always sing, perform, appearances, perform appearances, and it's kind of like there was no broadening of like, let's get them more endorsements, let's get them on, let's expand their repertoire. Like, obviously today artists do everything. They have clothing lines, they have makeup lines, they have TV cameos, movie cameos, they produce, it's like they do so much stuff. But at that time, it wasn't. But I feel like In Vogue, go ahead.
But at that time, though, In Vogue was doing a lot of things that other groups. They had they had endorsements. They did have Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi because they had a Ray Charles commercial, which was very huge. You know, I do know they had that. I do know they sung theme songs for like Rock, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. So I mean they've done other things,
but it was all in a lane of sing, perform,
and they were all shows that were black audiences,
yeah. black
in living color,
and they did. Look, In Vogue appeared on so many shows, like. It's a lot of them. And even like,
Wayans
I love the Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I love the Hanging with Mr. Cooper theme song. I'm like, dang, y'all really appeared on so many shows, which I think
and they were
great.
Guests. They were acting on Rock. They were on like several episodes. Like they had a main story.
They were acting on different world. You know, I thought their cameo in Batman Forever was a little bit disrespectful. That why are they hookers? But whatever. You know, they could have been some waitresses in the scene with Vivica Fox. They could have did that. They didn't have to be hookers on the street.
In a lot of ways, though, I feel like In Vogue kind of set a blueprint because I mean they really like that Funky Divas era going into Don't Let Go. That they did things that other artists, honestly, at that time. were not doing. They were really
remember
doing
Batman?
Yeah, like they were making appearances and doing things that were not normal. Like what they did was not a normal thing that a black artist or black group was doing. TLC was not doing that at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody was doing that. So I think they were on the right page. I really think that, that breakup, I think it really kind of threw a wrench in there. But what do you think, Josh? We haven't heard you give your kind of take on that.
I don't know, because so even in the setup of the context of this question, we're referencing artists or similar groups like Spice Girls, Destiny's Child, TLC, who all hit later. So TLC really popped in 95, 96, right? Destiny's Child was, I think that there's something about a group that came out in 89, 90, 91, and a group that came out and pops like TLC in 95, 94, 95. I feel like by
TLC
the time
came out in 92.
Well, yeah, but I feel like they were styled like children to me. They were styled like teenagers, right? They were they were rebellious teens versus In Vogue, who were grown women. And so I feel like by the time they got to, and their second album dropped in 92, TLC's second album dropped in 97, 99?
No, the second album came out. Crazy Sex Cool was in 94.
Right. Fan Mail was 99. I just feel like there was a time and place thing where in 90 to 92, I don't know any girl groups that were dominating world music. I don't know any of them.
And just for reference, Ooh on the TLC Tip came out in 92. Crazy Sexy Cool came out in 94. Fan Mail in 99.
So I feel like we're looking at a 2-year gap even between TLC's start and In Vogue's start. So I just feel like people viewed In Vogue as more grown than the rest of these groups. And so by the time we got to the mid to late 90s, I think some of these groups were still kind of considered in their prime or at the beginning of their careers, where people viewed In Vogue, who at that point had children in the mix and all these other kinds of things, as grown women, which is why when we get to EV3, we get Diane Warren pen ballads and not the up-tempo club songs. And that's why I was
but that was a choice. That, to me, that is a conscious choice, though.
But I think that's because the music industry didn't necessarily know. I think the music industry is better now because women are having children younger and people are having families younger and all of these other things. I feel like they know what to do more now with women, regardless of where they are in their careers or in their lives or what ages they are. I think then it was okay, at this point, these women are now what, 30 something, maybe early, late 20s, early 30s. That was considered, I think, even a little bit more advanced than some of these other groups.
Yeah, I firmly believe Janet Jackson did not have a child until 50 because she knew that if she knew what would happen if she did it before. Oh yeah, I get that. Let's just ask this other question. So, if before the release of EV3, In Vogue had reached a level of success as some of the other girl groups, would the original four still be together, or would their success have torn them apart? Or, would things have still gone the way they did without the group members leaving?
I think they would have given EV3 or whatever version of that it would have been with different success. They would have given it a fuller run. It would have been more fruitful and it would have set them up for individual success. And then they still would have probably broken up, but we would have seen more women out of the group get solo success, I think.
Exactly. And it would have left the door open for them to come back and do cool things together, like they've done in the past with the original four, when they did the BET performance with Alicia Keys, or when they did the Sylvia Rhone tribute. I feel like we would have gotten more of that. Oh my God, In Vogue is reuniting for this, that. You know, the way Beyonce does it, like Beyonce, she like when she does big things, she always brings out Kelly and Michelle because she's like, I gotta give props to my girl. Occasionally,
when she's in a giving mood.
See, don't shade the DC3, but she does it at the right time.
And it's always a moment. Even if we know that she's doing them a favor, it's always a moment. It's always a moment.
Yes. The Super Bowl
Kelly
was
showed
great.
up at that Super Bowl ready to give the people something they can feel. Okay. But, you know, to be honest, that bang, she had her good bang wig in. Like, she was ready. She popped that hip to the side.
The bang.
But, to me, honestly, so when I think about EV3, even with the original four together, I don't think anything was really going to help that album. Like, I honestly feel like if that was going to be the album that they released, the only thing that would have made it better would have been different single selections. And so I remember on the In Vogue Craze website, the writer of Don't Let Go, Ivan Mateus. Yeah, I mean, he said that originally after Don't Let Go, Damn I Want to Be Your Lover was set to be the official lead singer. The lead single, Dawn was the lead, and that was supposed to be, and he said that he kind of believed that would change the vibe, or it could have been something different. I don't know if it would have changed the whole vibe, or I don't know if that would have been, if that would have created a big change in the album as a whole. Possibly, because I think Damn I Want to Be Your Lover is one of the better songs on that album. But when I look at what was happening in music at that time, and when I listen to those songs itself, despite who was singing lead, I just don't really see any of those songs being game changing. Like, honestly, like, I don't think any of those songs.
I think whatever was the appropriate first single. Like,
I think so too.
But even then, as much as I love Whatever, it's one of my more favorite songs from them. When I think about other songs that were released in 1993, to me, it doesn't quite give me, number one smash single.
But it goes back to what was mentioned like on a previous episode, where it's like after Whatever, they should have came out with another song that was more crossover that could have, because kind of I think Jonathan, you mentioned Janet Jackson, like how she came out with Got Till It's Gone, and it wasn't like well received because she was doing like a more soulful black sound, but then she came out with Together Again that kind of went on the pop charts and kind of saved the album's turnaround. So I feel like if they did that, but that Two Gone Too Long is a great ballad. It's a Diane Warren ballad. I feel like Two Gone Too Long should have been on like someone's movie soundtrack versus
because like 97,
like a second
like
single.
97 was like the year of like Titanic and the big ballad. Like it was like 97, 98 was like My All and My Heart Will Go On and Celine Dion's crazy reign of ballad after ballad after ballad. So it made sense that they tried to like put them in that, but it doesn't make sense that they didn't concentrate on that, because Whatever is not that. Right, like Whatever is very much an attempt to be on urban R&B radio, and then then they follow it. The audience was unclear. The audience was just unclear to me.
Very much so. To be clear, I think that I agree that they would EV4, as it was originally called, it would have had better legs to stand on if they stayed together. But I do think after that run that Dawn was so adamant about her solo project that I do think that they would have broken up eventually. It just would have been more amicable, because I feel like once that third album hits and you have a success, like now the world is your oyster. Like you can do a lot more. I feel like Maxine could have pierced the hair industry in some kind of way. I feel like Cindy could have gone back to her theater roots and done some Broadway stuff. I think a lot of them could have had more opportunity if that still happened. But obviously, it's like when you do a breakup and it's really dramatic, the brand is tainted and people don't want to touch it.
But also, though, I have to say this. I would be remiss if I didn't say this, but I have always felt like Terry Ellis releasing that record that did absolutely nothing in 1995. I also feel like that kind of tarnished the brand a bit, in my opinion. I mean, and I bought it. Like, I literally went to the store at the time and bought the CD when it came out. And I remember listening to that album and I was thinking, like, why is it this way? What am I listening to?
She had 2 singles, right?
Yeah, Wherever You Are and What Did I Do to You? And I like both of those songs, but it just felt really random. Right. Coming off the run of Funky Divas.
And what's interesting, right, is that I feel like Southern Gal really transitioned them into that adult contemporary kind of thing. So, like, if you remember, I'm a Vanessa Williams fan. So, like, Vanessa Williams, like, actually, that's an interesting thing in my brain now. Also, I've been having 2 glasses of wine now, so apologies to the listeners. Like, Vanessa Williams dropped her album Next in 1997, I believe, as well.
Happiness,
and it was again, like, super adult contemporary, because I feel like people said, these women of this age or whatever.
And they weren't even that old.
Hello.
Like, you need to go to adult contemporary. And a lot of that was preceded by, like, in Vogue, it was preceded by, I mean, Terry's album was super, like, adult sounding, just like Vanessa giving us Colors of the Wind and Save the Best for Last before Next was very adult contemporary. So, like, I feel like they said, well, you had your hit or you had your moment, but now we got to shift y'all over here because,
But I think that was the attempt to make that Colors of the Wind was a huge mainstream song. When you go see Vanessa Williams, I saw her a few years ago. You want to hear Colors of the Wind. And I never really thought about this until Champ said it. I really do think that was really their attempt at if you can sing well, if you have an adult image and you can sing well, you need to kind of be in this Celine Dion, who was huge at the time. My Heart Will Go On, broke records, and that I think that was the idea. Like, if you are a vocalist and you have a mature image, despite what age you actually are, I think we had to move you to this pop adult contemporary sound. And I never thought about that until now. And just for context, I do want to say at that same time, Escape released their lead single, The Arms of the One Who Loves You, which was like 98. And that ended up going top 10 on the Hot 100. It peaked at number 7. So I just find that very interesting. It was a Diane Warren ballad because Diane Warren was still that, huge at the time. So in like retrospect, I see why they released Gone Too Long, because they thought, it was probably a sure thing.
But such different voices though, right? Like, I feel like, even though Escape's single was a Diane Warren track, I just feel like they give very different vocal approaches to a Diane Warren song. Like, Escape is going to run all up and down the scale, sideways, round and round. Like, it is what In Vogue gives classic, clean, like, pop sensibility to the song. And I feel like that's the difference, right?
What I just thought? What the perfect song would be for like a vocal challenge adjacent to the Can We Talk challenge? The bridge from Gone Too Long.
It's a great bridge.
The bridge from if you had like all these like female singers, even some male singers who did that bridge, baby, it would be great.
What is the bridge? I know Max starts it and Terry finishes it.
Yeah, Max starts it.
I can't remember the lyrics offhand. Oh, do you really think I'd take you back?
Take you back, let you back in my life, oh baby, just like that.
Someone new is loving me.
Yeah, and then when Terry holds that note to win my heart again
with the glass shattering.
She broke the ceiling.
They look good in that video. Because I think around that time, what like Brandy and Monica, like Aaliyah, they were very popular, and that kind of like style was in. So even seeing like Terry with the brown hair and the blonde highlights, you know,
with her little mini skirt,
Maxine with her micro braids, you know what I mean?
On the side.
Yeah, like it was. They look really good in that video. But yeah, that would be a good vocal challenge for Instagram.
But the
TikTok
problem is people don't remember that song.
People don't know that song, you know. But regardless of like who In Vogue is, like if you just listen to that song, Too Gone Too Long is like an excellent ballad. It's like the vocals on that song are like really great. They are singing even when they perform it.
Nothing wrong with that song.
Right. I love that. I have to tell you this story because my cousin was 7 years older than me. So, I mean, like I was in middle school when EV3 came out and I'm playing the album. I'm loving it. And my cousin, like he was a little bit older. He was very much into like hip hop, Mary J. Blige, Lil' Kim, Biggie, you know, that was very much that era, even though he was older than me. And I was playing, he heard me playing the songs in my room and he was like, what is that? I was like, this is In Vogue. This is Too Gone Too Long. What do you mean? And he was like, that ain't gonna hit. I was like, what? Like, what do you, I was like,
cousin.
I was like, are you crazy? Do you hear this song? Like, this is a Diane Warren ballad. He was like, that ain't gonna hit. That's not where music is right now. Like that. And I was like, you are crazy. And then, so I'm playing EV3. I was playing EV3 and I went to like, okay, you like more hip hop. So I played You're All I Need that, you know, Cindy leads. And I think that's a really cute song too. He was like, yeah, that's not it either. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, you crazy. You just wait until they release the videos. It's going to pop.
I hope we do an episode on EV3 because like, I really want to talk about EV3 at length.
I just think, you know, that came back to my memory because he was very much into like where R&B urban music was at that time. And I didn't see it because I loved In Vogue and I loved whatever they did, I was going to find a way to consume it. And I think that just has a lot it comes back to the fact of black music at that time it just wasn't the sound. But I do think they were aiming for a different approach. You know, they were aiming for like that more crossover appeal. And I don't think they put the money behind them to really make that happen.
Do you think that it's possible for the current lineup to achieve the level of success that the original four had?
No.
Why or why not?
Ageism.
They're past their prime.
People, like, I don't know any group. I mean, so there was one moment, right? Like, Cher, when she had Believe, was a moment when an older woman over the age of 50 got a number one and had a repeat or whatever. But like, have we ever seen that since then? No. Like, unfortunately, who?
Mariah Carey had a nice comeback with the Emancipation of Mimi.
But Mariah was still like, I think.
She was relatively young, 50 but she yet.
Her sound evolved. Emancipation of Mimi is a good R&B album.
And she had been putting out albums that were still, even if they were not necessarily met with the sort of success, they were still high quality produced on major label albums, right? So we're talking about now a group that is not on a major label, has been out of major label territory for a long time, achieving the success of, you know, an original four lineup ages ago, which is just unsaid.
And she understood the art of the collaboration. Mariah Carey was never afraid to collaborate with a rapper. She always collaborated like with somebody in hip hop, you know, because she was like, I have my fans, but I also want to connect to y'all fans too, because that's going to keep me relevant. I don't really know if In Vogue didn't really collaborate a lot with a lot of other artists. Maybe it's because of the image they were going for, and I do feel like In Vogue, part of their I feel like they're very loyal to the original image of In Vogue. You know what I mean? This like, you know, Pointer Sisters, old school harmony, like this whole like little brand. And I feel like, you know, perhaps part of the reason why, you know, they weren't able to achieve that success is because they didn't collaborate a lot. Maybe they didn't think that collaborating with Diddy or Snoop Dogg or Biggie or whoever was good for the brand. But I mean, but it worked for a lot of people.
It's so funny.
It worked for Janet. It worked for me.
It's so funny because like I completely agree with you, but I also remember that we have also on this podcast like kind of shaded them for abandoning the old school harmony and trying to do the more contemporary thing, because that's how Electric Cafe is. Most of it is without all of those things. But like again, that's a production thing, I feel like. But you know, like that it's a little too late to try and experiment with that.
It's the art of the balance. It's the art of the balance, you know. I mean, because they did collaborate with Snoop Dogg on I'm Good. What song was it? I'm Good.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I just don't think that was.
No, it's Have a Seat.
It was Have a Seat.
Oh my god! Y'all are confusing me. Oh my god!
I think it was Have a Seat, but you know, I mean, so I definitely don't think that the current lineup will be able to achieve the success as the original four. I don't think that should even be the goal. I think that the goal should be like who is in vogue in today's landscape.
It's Have a Seat.
You know what I mean? It's Have a Seat. Okay. I think that it's like who is in vogue in today's landscape. You know. And I think that for Cindy and Terry, there are just things that they're not willing to do. You know, they don't want to do reality TV. I mean, I feel like
crazy.
I feel like that is a lot of people's gateway to mainstream. To mainstream, but they don't want to do it, and I understand. You know,
I think like, and this is not to be shady because most of us don't. Most of us shouldn't be on reality TV because most of us lead lives that are not reality TV ready. And I think that Terry and Cindy are just leading relatively normal lives outside of it. You know, what they get to do for their day job. Terry over there scrapbooking and crafting, and you know, Cindy over there with her kids and her husband. Like, it's all good.
You're not gonna see Cindy and Terry, you know, on Atlanta Housewives. They're not gonna be arguing with King, and they're not gonna go back and forth with you. It's gonna be very much a Kim Fields moment where it's kind of like she's not dramatic. Get her off the show.
But baby, them SWV girls, they were ready for TV, honey.
They were ready. I mean, even one of
the best shows ever. SWV Reunited.
Even the Escape girls, like they gave you good TV. You know,
but that's
like
the thing though. Escape and SWV gave you. They really addressed the problems and what their real issues were in their group. And I've heard Dawn say they've had so many opportunities to come together as the original four and do a reality show. But according to Dawn, Cindy and Terry don't want to do it because they don't really want people to know what the real situation is.
But that's her take, you know.
Yeah, that's her take. I'm just saying I don't know. I'm not in it, but I'm just saying.
I'm not saying Dawn is lying. I mean, that possibly could be the reason, you know. And it also could be like reality TV is very much.
They want you to put your mess up front. It's
not real. Reality TV is. Hold on. Reality TV is not real. It's very much they create these situations and they put you in, so your reaction might be authentic, but the situation is coerced and it is created. You know what I mean? And producers and showrunners, they like, well, we want you to do this, you know? So it'll very much be like, oh, we're going to do a reality show with Rona, Cindy, and Terry, but then they're not going to tell them that, oh, well, Dawn is showing up. And it's kind of like, hey, Dawn, you know, it's very much that, you know? So I feel like Cindy and Terry, and when they were on Wendy Williams, they had said it's not that we don't want to do reality TV shows, like we want to do it the right way. So I feel like the opportunities that they have been presented, it just hasn't been the right fit because they see themselves in a certain way, and it's kind of like, well, we don't want you to.
But the fact remains is that nobody wants to see the reality show that they imagine themselves to be in, because that is not what is bankable right now. People unfortunately want the Andy Cohen treatment of women fighting with each other on TV for an hour every week, and that's not what they're willing to give, which I respect. But like, now, baby, if it was the original four trying to work it out, then absolutely it would be.
Well, so what about like them being judges on like these like competition shows? So I could see like Terry or Cindy like
I don't think that works.
Doing like
I don't think that works simply because they were never allowed to extend as individuals enough to establish themselves as like personalities, like, and so people look for judges with like personality driven stuff, and we never got to see any of them solo doing their own thing on a mainstream stage to really be able to say like, now I remember they did that a cappella show and they let like Sean from Boys to Men be a judge, and like, you know, that would have been an interesting one.
On the vibe of the show,
right?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the show. I mean, but to your point though, Champ, I get what you're saying, but to me, when I look at reality TV, especially like a Bravo program, for example, to me it's like, let's say if like the three of us, you know, we're hanging out and we're, you know, they're going to film us. If we had beef yesterday, we may not want to address it on camera, but a producer's job is to be like, well, yesterday the three of y'all were just arguing, so now we're on camera. Right. We need to talk about that. And so to me, it just kind of feels like, they make you talk about things that otherwise you would not address, which to me isn't fake. It's just, they're just kind of saying, listen, this is what it is. Right. Let's talk about it. And otherwise you would probably be like, well, no, I don't want to talk about it in front of the camera, but this is the show. So you may be uncomfortable, but let's talk about it.
I do think that they made an attempt to kind of like show a different side of themselves when they did that podcast. I don't know if it's still happening. But I mean, I feel like, perhaps, well, one, when they connected with Michael Mann, you know, rest in peace, I do feel like he really evolved their fashion look in the Rocket video. It was very much like, dang, In Vogue looks great. So I feel like perhaps, you know, they need a new team. A social media manager, possibly, you know, another stylist that will be like, hey, there's this whole new social media landscape that you guys are taking advantage of. And yes, I know you guys are content with touring and you're content, you know, with doing what you guys are doing. But it's like, but there's a whole new world of the industry that you can take advantage of, especially now because nostalgia is huge. And a lot of these people of a certain age are finding a lot of success. Like imagine, like, you know, when Rihanna discovered that 60-year-old model that she put in her Savage Fenty campaign. Like imagine, you know, In Vogue being a part of a Fenty campaign, or like being a part of like, you know, some like, a black-owned hair care line being the face of that. You know how Vivica Fox is the face of these wigs in LA. Like there are a lot of things that can be done, but I feel like maybe they're not. They don't know how to pierce that market. So I feel like maybe it's like find a new team, find a social media manager, say, hey, we're gonna make you a TikTok. You got to post 3 to 4 times a week. You know, we're gonna, the same way I always mention Dawn Richard. You know, like how she, you know, she very much uses that micro budget, and she gives you a look some kind of way. So like maybe it's that, because if In Vogue was known for the fashion, then I need Terry, Cindy, Rona to give me some fashion on their Instagram. Like I should be seeing beauty shots. I should be seeing headshots and makeup. Like I should be seeing, you're like, why not? You know, I feel like that's a market they haven't tapped into. And that's all I'm gonna say, because I know that we're getting to the wire.
Why do y'all think that none of In Vogue's members have had a successful solo career, or one at all?
I think it was premature. I think like solo, like, I think any attempt at solos sort of careers were premature. They didn't let In Vogue marinate long enough to really be able to capitalize on it. So like, I think it was all kind of like, it just fizzed. So I think if they had, I really, really honestly believe that if they had stuck through one more album cycle together, they could have really been set up and known that they were going to go through that album cycle with the idea of let's set these ladies up for individual success so that they can still come back and enjoy group success at some point as a legacy act or something. Like,
it would have been
a better transition, and we would be talking about all of them having albums or all of them having done something.
I think it's so dope. Like, if you really look at the history of New Edition and you really look at, you know, the moments that they came back together, and, you know, Bobby went solo first, and then Ralph and BBD, Johnny, and there was like a MTV Video Music Awards where they came back together and they all did their solo stuff and then came together and did something as a group. And that was back in the like early 90s. So to me, it's crazy because to me, the blueprint was there. It was, you know, like they gave you a roadmap of what to do.
Mm-hmm. That's real. I never thought about that.
That was like in 93, 94. I mean, Vogue broke up in 96, 97. So like you saw, like it was possible to have a group, to bring in new members, to break apart, to still come back together and be amicable and be that. But for whatever reason, I mean, didn't happen.
I also will throw this out there. I will say that perhaps it's time to give the In Vogue brand a break, and for the ladies to figure out, well, who am I outside of this group? You know, because it's like they all had aspirations and dreams, and like they had different talents and skills before the group, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, what can you do? Like, look at what Maxine is doing with her new business that she started, you know, like, you know, we know that Cindy has a theater background. It's like, well, what happens if you kind of like, you know, took a break from In Vogue and like you actually, you know, made some calls and was like you started getting back into theater again, or, you know, like Rona, like you started off as an actress, like what if you know, got on one of these streaming shows again, you know, but and then it's like the same way Destiny's Child did. It's like they didn't break up, but they parted ways. It's like, well, I need to find myself outside of this equation. And then you come back bigger and better than ever. You know, you fail on your own, you try new things. So I feel like maybe it's like, hey, we have toured plenty of times. We've done the same set list. Like, let's you know, do some more things. Maybe they don't want to, but I feel like maybe they should.
I think the only thing about that is that it doesn't pay the bills, right? Like like Destiny's Child, for instance, like the opportunities were there for the ladies to do that, right? Like, Kelly, go do your album. Kelly, go do your movie. Michelle,
the opportunities are there. I disagree. I think that they're there. I think that if In Vogue, here, look, if Terry Ellis made a call to Tyler Perry, he would put her in a movie. You know he would. If they auditioned for something, I feel like there is somebody, a shot caller who is an In Vogue fan, who would say, "What? Cindy Heron wants to audition for this role? Of course,
right?
Come on,
no, because like Cindy was just like Cindy booked
are.
something recently, but it was like Bounce TV. Like Bounce is like, you know, like
Don't do that to
I love
What's
these.
wrong with that?
I love Bounce, but like you,
Johnson on Bounce TV is really cute.
But all I'm saying is like that the opportunities while there are not, I think, as abundant.
But I think the thing of it is, though, it's a grind. If you really want to do something else, you have to sacrifice. Maybe for this year, I'm not going to tour. I'm going to pursue those other opportunities. Like, I get what you're saying, Champ, because I think all of the ladies are very dependent on, you know, what they can do as a member of or a former member of In Vogue. But sometimes you gotta step out and be like, you know, I am my own entity. Cause I don't mean no harm, but as much as Cindy, Terry, and Rona have been touring, if you haven't stacked your cash up to save so that you can take some time to go do other things, and that, to me, you need a financial literacy course.
But you're an artist. You're an artist. Like, why? like, why not? You know, I just feel like there are opportunities that are out there for them, even if, because there are people who started off on Bounce TV and now they're in critically acclaimed shows, you know. So, you know, Ty Lepley, he started off, you know, in a Tyler Perry show, you know, then he moved on to Stars with, you know, The Pank. And now he's in. Now he's on Amazon Prime. You know, with the show Hollywood Bang. You know, I feel like it's a stepping stone. I feel like, but it's like,
but they're comfortable. I mean, there's a certain level of you're comfortable. You've been performing the same songs for 30 years, so there's a certain level of I know this can pay the bills. So I mean, I get that side of it, because I remember, like, as a Janet Jackson fan, there's a part of me that feels like, as fierce as you were during your, you know, the peak, she turned down a lot of movies. She turned down a lot of opportunities so that she could go on tour. Like, she turned down X-Men so that she can go tour. She's turned down big roles and big opportunities to fulfill her obligations as a recording artist and as a touring artist. And, you know, I'm like, girl, if you had broadened that, you know, if you had maybe said, I'm gonna wait 6 months and tour after I finish this movie, you know, maybe there could have been other opportunities after, you know, the Super Bowl, or after, you know, you're no longer a viable commercial artist. You know, there could have been more opportunities to seize out there. So, I mean, I think, especially with Cindy and Rona being actresses before In Vogue.
Exactly. And one thing, I know we got to get to these submitted letters. I will say, it's like, Rona, I am a huge fan of her, but unfortunately, she remains the butt of the joke. And there are people who refuse to legitimize her membership in this group. So I feel like, well, sis, instead of, and you still can create your own lane outside of the group as well. And I feel like as you do that, perhaps the respect as a member of En Vogue will come from people, you know. So I feel like you still,
if you got your own name outside of En Vogue, then
she had a career before En Vogue. That's the reason why they gave her the freaking opportunity, because she had a good resume, you know. So it's like, well, sis,
I would be willing to bet that I would be willing to bet that she's probably turned down some opportunities to fulfill her, you know, obligations with En Vogue. I would be willing to venture, because, I mean, I don't live in LA, but I've listened to enough interviews from actors that live in LA, who work in LA, who audition on a daily basis. Like, there's always an audition to go to. You know what I mean? And so
I just think that they've all gotten used to a comfort of a grind that is rewarding and that is automatically available to them. So, like, Rona's able to, you see what she does on the side with all of her, like, life coaching and all that, like she's able to finance all of that, likely from being able to just tour consistently with En Vogue. So, like, it's just at a point, I also understand the angle of, like, this is comfortable and we get to do our thing and we get to pay our bills and we get to stay steady and still go on the mixtape tour with New Kids on the Block and do these whatever. Like, I get that, but I also understand what y'all are saying about how it's important for, like, if from a brand perspective, it would be really interesting for them to creatively just go and, like, take a moment, take a hiatus, and then come back after having done additional sort of experiences.
And ladies, if you just happen to be listening, I promise you, I'm not trying to be shady or come for you. I literally am just posing questions, because as a fan, I want you guys to win, and so we all do. So it's like, I don't want anybody to be offended by what we're saying. You know, we're not trying to be shady.
We need
just
a disclaimer. We need a disclaimer, you know, like, we all love all the ladies of En Vogue. Please do not take it personal. We're just brainstorming and just having conversation.
And perhaps you can come on the show to clarify, you know, your stance on where you are in life, you know, because your fans want to know. We want to know, well, why aren't you in reality? Like, why aren't you doing here?
The
like,
stuff
why aren't
that
you
Wendy Williams and such,
you know,
are not going to ask? Because, like, that's the thing. I think that.
We're not going to, like, I feel like as a fan, I'm very curious. It's like, you know, so where are you? Like, what have you, like, maybe you can give some insight and say, oh, I auditioned for this and it was this. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. You know, I would like to, it would be great to interview them to give insight on, like,
what
who
the
they are
process is for
now.
them.
You
And
know,
let me say
exactly.
this. So I will never forget being a young kid and watching Malcolm and Eddie and seeing Cindy have a recurring role as Malcolm Jamal Warner's love interest. Like,
period.
I was just like, oh my God, that's Cindy. Like, I remember being so excited and like, just like proud and like, oh, I love her. So I don't know. We just want to see y'all all shine in all of your areas of expertise.
That's real. So, of the 6, and that's inclusive of Amanda. Shout out to Amanda. Who do you
I just
all...
watched her do a cover of Whitney Houston on YouTube, by the way.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's stellar.
Sis can sing.
Who of those 6, who had the most potential, do you think, to have a successful solo career?
Dawn and Cindy to me. But if I'm scaling it, more Dawn. For sure. And she said she's had the most opportunities out of all the women, like as far as the mainstream goes. Like she had the most opportunities.
The interest was there.
For sure.
It just didn't, matriculate.
Yeah.
The way one would hope.
To In Vogue, Dr. Dre, then to Lucy Pearl, then to R&B Diva. It's like people want to see Dawn.
And to be honest, I think that there was, and I want to say Rona, like maybe not solo career post In Vogue, but like like Rona had, like she was like linked up with Darkchild.
The first lady of Darkchild.
She was the first lady of Darkchild, right. Like she had thriving acting career. Like I think Rona was also really primed for some solo success, which I mean is not fair to say because it was before she even joined In Vogue, but like...
But also, like, I don't know if, I've been following Rona for years now, but I've sent her certain questions and she's never really given, to my understanding, like what happened with Darkchild and that opportunity. Like Darkchild was huge at the time. He was one of the biggest music producers in the industry. And she was the first lady of his record label. I want to know what happened. Why was it only released internationally? Like, what was the thing? Because I'm wondering, was it like a colorism issue? Was it like, did she feel like they weren't supportive because Darkchild had his own thing, but he had to get distribution from a major label, right? Mm-hmm. And so did whatever his distribution
label side, right?
Right. On that side, did they think that Rona was not going to be mainstream enough, so they didn't want to, release it in the US? Like, I want to know that story.
I'm also curious to see, like, if she, written for people with songs that probably never saw a lot of day. Like, did she collaborate with people? Like, I'm actually interested to hear her unsung story of like being the first lady of Darkchild. Like, I feel like Rona has some stories to tell. Oh, I'm sorry. This sounds like the same question. It sounds like the same question. Who was you position that was from? I don't know, honestly, because it's like I don't know who the women are individually. I don't know, so it's like I have nothing to intrigue me.
I don't really know either. I think I was intrigued by Terry dropped a solo little song, like a couple
Strong
of
Black Woman?
Angry Black Woman, I think is what it was called, or something like that. And I didn't. It's not in heavy rotation by any means, but I was intrigued. I think like the voice is still intriguing to me. So like I think Terry I don't know when it's about something to say or perspective. I don't know, but when it's about like the voice I want to hear singing solo, there are certain voices that I think I could still. Also, like I mean, we said of the 6, so I want to we gotta slide Amanda up in there because I feel like Amanda is like a singer, so I could listen to her sing anything.
Amanda can sing. Like, I honestly, I would love to see a redo of Terry as a solo artist, just because Terry has like this like Southern sass, this Southern spice that she kind of like channels when she performs, that I feel like has a place in today's industry. People like that dark mocha skin, Black woman who's unapologetic and who's like, has like a little Like I got the sass. Like if you watch like the Free Your Mind video, like a lot of like the nuances and like mannerisms that Terry gives in that video, even in the Riddle video, like when she does her whole solo performance, like her performance, like her dancing, I'm like, baby, give me this, give me more of this. So I feel like I would be interested to see how she would perform as a solo artist. Now, I would be interested. I definitely would be interested.
I would want to hear Maxine or Dawn, but I want to hear something specific. I want to hear them do house music. I want to hear them do the
Oh my God,
That's what I want to hear. And I have told Maxine has seen my request. She has liked it. And she has seen, like, I want house music from Maxine and or Dawn. That's kind of where
that would have a great shelf life. That would have a great shelf life.
And here's my logic. Like at the end of the day, like I've seen Dawn like at like a gay pride event. Like I feel like, listen, you're never going to be a mainstream. You're never going to be on the top 40 again. Why don't you just do something that can be entertaining for your audience at this point and that can make sure that you are touring by yourself? And you know what I'm saying? Because look at Deborah Cox.
Dawn Robinson, she should collaborate with Todrick Hall.
There's no reason that Deborah Cox should be doing all the gay pride events.
There is no more forgiving genre than dance or house music or EDM house music. Like, I'm a big Martha Wash fan, and Martha Wash has made a whole career off of the dance floor. And I'm just like, and house music in particular really is the only genre that's outside of gospel that still values older singing ass women. And I'm just like, why have folks not and I'm not talking about these little EDM, like I'm talking like pulsating beats, big belty notes. Yes. Like I don't understand.
Yes. They play at raves, they play at the clubs.
But see, people like CeCe Peniston, Robin S., like they still release house records. Like once you have that audience, they will love you forever. CeCe Peniston can tour for the rest of her life off of one song alone. Finally, you know what I'm saying? Like and I have literally sent this message to Maxine and Dawn. I'm like, you need to do house music. You need to do dance.
And the producers would welcome them with open arms.
Because they have a name.
Yep.
100%.
Yep. Like I went to I went to Baltimore, I guess it was maybe 2 months ago. And it was a Ultra Nate show, and Mesa was there, and it was just like, I was like, wow, like it was just a house music moment. And I was like, wow, the voices that we respond to in house music are the voices that oftentimes get shoved to the side. And I don't understand why women who have been done wrong by the industry, or who have been considered discarded by the industry, or not valuable enough to sing in the industry or be mainstream or whatever, don't just flock over to house music, because it is so accessible. Okay, so it's time, friends, for the listener letters. And we have quite a few because we got some folks who've been listening. So the first one comes from Jay. So, first and foremost, questions. If you have questions, comments, or anecdotes, please, just as a reminder, email them to us at partofusevf@gmail.com, and we will read them on an upcoming episode. And the first email comes from Jay. Jay says, "Hey y'all, I love the podcast. I'm a young Evie fan, 23 years old."
Oh wow!
And
welcome, Gen Z. Yes.
And my mom has raised me on the group ever since I can remember. I have a few topic questions that, if you don't mind. First question is, what is your power ranking in the group when it comes to singing voice, dancing, overall live performances? Second question is, what's a song you wish in Vogue, you wish was in Vogue's that might have been sung by another group or singer? I have a whole Apple playlist dedicated to it.
Oh wow! Share it with us, Jay. Share it with us.
And then Jay says, I love In Vogue and I love the podcast. Please keep it up. Y'all take care and stay safe. Much love, Jay.
Thank you, Jay. So what is your power ranking in the group when it comes to singing, voice, dancing, overall? So I guess, what is the, like, who do you think is the best overall versus the least? Are we talking original 4?
Let's go.
Or the total 6?
Let's go. Let's do the total 6.
Oh gosh.
That actually is a very hard question because they all are leads.
Now, are we talking about in their prime or today in 2022?
I think you just gotta go. You just gotta go with your gut. I feel like we're all gonna go with different angles on it.
Okay, so I'll go. I love a soprano, so Cindy would be at the top of my list. I also love a woman who can sing low, so Maxine's going to be second. Amanda is going to be third for me. Then I will give it Terry, Rona, Dawn. Only and the reason I'm gonna give backstory. The reason why I say that is because I grew up in church, and Dawn has one of those like crossover Diana Ross type of voices. Like she can sing. She has like a crossover. She has crossover appeal. But I love somebody who can do runs, who can give me the scale. You know, and Dawn doesn't. Dawn is a power singer, but I feel like the other ladies, like, they can give me like some gospel moments where I'm kind of like, yes, baby, give me that minor. Go to that C sharp. Like, I feel like that. And so I feel like Dawn doesn't give me that in a lot of her vocal performances. She can still sing. You know, even like when I listened to like a cover of Amanda singing freaking Whitney Houston, I was like, sis, you better hit every note. So yeah, and Rona surprises me with her live vocals. I'm like, baby, you can do that with your voice? Why are you singing that Rocket Bridge? Give her the opening verse, baby. But that's my power ranking. And a song that I wish that they would have sang, that another singer sang, is Long As I Live by Toni Braxton.
Oh,
okay.
That is a song.
It's a song. That song be songing. Okay.
I'm just gonna go with what I'm feeling in the moment. This might change tomorrow. Cindy, Dawn, Max, Terry, Rona, and Amanda. I think I'm just gonna go with that. I don't know why. That's what my spirit is telling me right now. No shade to Amanda, because I think Amanda is an amazing singer and performer. I actually enjoy a lot of what I saw of Amanda on stage too, but like, it's just,
is she last because her membership was the most short-lived?
It's just this guy. It's just the principle. So yeah, that's my power ranking. And then I really have no idea. I'm really curious to hear this playlist because I've never thought about this question around, like, what do I wish another singer had that En Vogue got to do? But just freestyling it, I really think that they could have done something really wonderful with That's the Way Love Goes by Janet Jackson.
Oh,
yeah.
That puts me in the frame of Runaway Love.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite En Vogue songs. Underrated.
We have not given love to that song.
That is a song.
I love the video. I love the vibe.
I wish they
Max
had more
talking sexy. Yeah,
I wish they had more of the, we love, and we've talked about this a lot, we love the like in your face big moments, but I love when they take a step back and they're like kind of cool with it. And
you know what's so crazy though, Josh? You said That's the Way Love Goes, and Runaway Love, because they both utilize like the bass, the dum 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 dum. They both utilize that in that song. That is very interesting. That
but think about the pre-chorus, the pre-chorus to like That's the Way Love, like the ooh, like they would have
that would have been really,
it would have been so good.
I can see that.
Maybe they should put that as a cover on one of their shows.
Like, I'm here for it
on that live album that you want.
En Vogue power ranking for me, I really honestly, that is crazy. Like, As far as dancing, no one stands out more than the other in terms of dancing for me, per se. But the only difference there is like attitude and sass and that whole kind of like, you know, that delivery. And so if I'm thinking back to there, I would have to give it to Dawn as number 1. I would have to give it to Maxine for number 2. I would have to give it to Terry for 3. Cindy for 4. Rona for 5. Amanda for 6. What song? I would have to say the only song that came to mind was Brownstone, If You Love Me. Because when you think about, you know, female groups and songs that at this point in time that are like people refer to as classic records and stuff that's like bought up, you know, regularly. I think Brownstone, If You Love Me, I mean, they gave you Mississippi Mass Choir. But they gave you Sultry. Shout out to Maxie, may she rest in peace. I love an alto voice, and her voice was so beautiful to me. So I would love to hear what a group like In Vogue, and they always sounded very sweet and angelic. I would love to hear what they sounded with that kind of funky urban R&B beat. I think that would have been really interesting.
Oh, what about like Jade? Like Jade Don't Walk Away would have been really interesting too. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Our next email comes from, I'm going to try my best to say this. Our next email comes from Romello Estrada. And this is in regards to our favorite live performances episode, which I believe is 2 parts. So it's 2 different episodes because we talked a whole lot that episode.
Sorry.
And he says, or they say, greetings, In Vogue craze. My name is Romello Estrada, and I've been a fan of In Vogue for a while now. And they just wanted to drop their favorite live performances, which I'm not against it. Favorite live performances include 2002's Free Your Mind and My Lovin' at the Budweiser Superfest in Amsterdam, 2003's Free Your Mind and Sad But True at the Night of the Proms, 2004 Free Your Mind with Kelly Clarkson at the Lifetime Women of Rock 04, 2008 Glamorous with Natalia in Belgium, and then My Lovin' You're Never Gonna Get It and Free Your Mind on Belgium TV in 2002, and then 2003's Don't Let Go at the Night of the Proms 03, and then 2013's I Love You More. There's a lot of European love here.
2003 I Love You More. What is this? I
don't know what that is.
I mean, it's from I know that song is from Masterpiece Theater, but I've never seen this performance.
Yeah,
it was on tour. They were clearly, I think, it was when they did this with the San Diego Symphony.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which I can imagine is beautiful. So, yes, thank you for dropping your fave performances. And thank you for listening.
Romello. We appreciate you for listening.
It's very clear Romello likes a particular type of lineup and performance.
Yes.
That was what my comment was about.
Which I'm not against.
Yeah, Romello, where are you from? Because this is a lot of like international.
But like also like the lineup, I feel like the consistent lineup, at least through most of these, is the Max, Terry, Rona.
I mean, well, that is the top 3. I mean that is the one for me.
I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. So we have 2 more listener letters. Before we get there, I do want to tell all the listeners, like, when we drop these episodes on YouTube or Instagram, please feel free to like comment and interact with us. Like, we would love to talk to you guys, you know. So like, you know, even on the Facebook page, like, please, like, we would love to like gab with other fans, you know. So thank you for listening. But like, you know, if you are a person who likes to be a keyboard warrior like me, you know, let's talk, you know.
And we all usually respond in the Instagram.
We do.
Like, we normally comment, so, you know, hit us up, you know.
Exactly.
Just shout out to Matthew. Be prepared. If you coming strong, we coming back. But go ahead.
Right. And shout out to our producer Matthew, because he edits the episodes superbly. So shout out to him, because it makes the listening journey that much more enjoyable.
Yes.
Next letter comes from Amanda from Manchester, United Kingdom. Hello. I really enjoyed the first episode. You're all very entertaining, and you really seem to know your In Vogue history. You're also very knowledgeable about music in general. Keep up the great work. I have to chime in and agree with Jonathan. Raphael Sadiq's contribution to Electric Cafe was disappointing. I'm Good isn't terrible by any means, but it's not up to his standards. I was so excited when I learned that he produced a song for In Vogue, and I was so disappointed when I finally heard it. Again, it's not terrible, it's just not as good as it could and should have been. It sounds like an unused track that he had sitting around, a leftover that didn't make it onto any of the albums that he produced for other artists. He was like, yeah, here you go, you can have this In Vogue. That said, would I like In Vogue to work with Raphael again? Absolutely. He's a great producer, and we shouldn't hold this one mediocre contribution to In Vogue's discography against him. The vocals on I'm Good are good at least. In Vogue should definitely work with him again, but have him contribute more than just one song to their album. Thank you, Amanda, for your letter, and I agree with you 100%.
Hey, Amanda, girl. Thank you for understanding where I'm coming from, because that is just amazing to me that how it was so bad. Like, why is that a song? I felt like maybe he was like, "Dawn, girl, don't worry about it. I'm gonna give him some trash." So I'm not gonna give him the good stuff. I'm not gonna give him the good stuff. Don't worry about it.
Is this when he and Dawn kind of made amends?
Because that is just not up to par for me. So the consensus is yes, Raphael. We love him. He's talented. I mean, his last album had a song that I know it's on my playlist from 2019, but we need a little bit more work on that, Raphael. So we appreciate your contributions. Last letter is from Nicole. And she says, Denny and Tommy did such a great job putting In Vogue together. Imagine if they had created a second girl group after the initial success of Born to Sing. They could have produced this group at the same time as In Vogue. I think that could have been fun for the fans because In Vogue would have their fans and this other group would have their fans, and we could have debated about which group was better. And Tommy and Denny could have produced a track for both groups to collaborate on. What do you think? I don't think that's how things work. I don't think that would have worked out well. I think that would have been mess, and I don't think that would have been a good thing.
I think like it could have been more interesting if they had done like a not a companion group but a male group.
I think a male group would have been great, yes, but not another female group.
And they could have done some like duet situations. Mm-hmm. The early 90s in particular, we loved a good like ballad. Mm-hmm. Like it could have been really interesting. Yeah, with the male and female voice, like that could have been really interesting. So maybe that. But I ain't never gonna say no to a girl group.
I have always felt like Boyz II Men and In Vogue were like, they could have been like brother and sister groups. Like when I think about Boyz II Men, like their run, and when I think about In Vogue's run, I think they're very similar. So when people are like, well, who should In Vogue battle in the verses? I think it should be Boyz II Men versus In Vogue personally. I agree. Because to me, they are just they're very similar. They are very much like, they have a similar run. So I would have loved a male group from Denny and Tommy.
And they both were the blueprints. They both were the blueprints for their lane.
Yep.
Yeah. They both had the crossover success and the R&B success. And
I mean, I agree with you, Nicole, to an extent. Like, I'm not a fan of like putting groups against each other, like saying who's better and who's, it's a very fine line. But I would have loved to. It would be interesting to see like what Tommy and Denny like. A different type of sound for a girl group. That would have been interesting to see. So, yeah. Thank you for your letter.
I was always under the impression, I later came to find out that it wasn't true, but was I the only person who thought that Tommy and Denny had produced Divine, that girl group?
No, I didn't know that. I never thought about that.
You know who the group is? You know who I'm talking about? They had that song Lately.
Oh, yes.
I always remember hearing that was their group, but it was like when I've looked it up, it wasn't. But I just remember that being like in the atmosphere that was their group. But
Who was the group that Mariah signed?
Allure.
Oh, never mind. Okay, that's right. Thank you for your letter.
Well, thank you for the letter, y'all. And that concludes the show for this week. We appreciate you guys for listening. Make sure you check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon, YouTube, and all that jazz. And remember, please email us any In Vogue footage you may have, and we can host it on our YouTube channel so we can make sure that we share those memories with everyone.
And for more In Vogue content, please check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at In Vogue Craze. Also on Twitter, you can find us at Part of Us Fancast. Comments and questions can be sent to partofusevf@gmail.com. Shout out to the co-hosts on today. Matan, we miss you. And let the folks know where they can find you on the internet.
You can find me being a mess at Everybody Loves JP on Twitter. That's EVERYBDY loves JP.
Don't follow JP on Twitter because when you say you like something, he gonna come in your comments and talk about he don't like it. He'll come and say, "Well, I didn't like it." I'm like, "Shut up, JP." No, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at It's Champ Johnson. I'm always ranting about reality TV, movies, music. So we can have a conversation about that. Yeah. Oh, and on TikTok, I'm Champ Johnson too.
Come on, TikTok. And I am on Instagram and Twitter at Josh Jenks, JOSHJENKS. And until next time, friends, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Be safe, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Part of Us at In Vogue Fancast was researched, written, produced, and edited by Matthew at Culture Inject Productions. The intro and outro music was produced by Wolves and Vincent Tone. We're more than just a podcast. We're a fan community. You can keep up to date on In Vogue and chat with other fans by visiting In Vogue Craze on Facebook. You can also follow us on YouTube and Instagram at In Vogue Craze and Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. Part of Us and In Vogue Fancast is not endorsed by In Vogue, E1 Music, or In Vogue Records, and is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. In Vogue and its names, images, and audio clips are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective copyright holders.